Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. If this is your first time here, my name is Amparo and today we are, oh, the rooster, yep. Today we're gonna just be doing a Q&A episode because I have some new subscribers and some new followers on Twitter as well, so thank you so much for subscribing and following, and today I'm gonna be answering questions submitted via Twitter and Instagram, so let's just jump right in. Okay, let's start with the Twitter questions. What are your favorite older K-pop groups? We're already starting well. I actually did not get into K-pop before 2018, so my first exposure to the genre itself or to the industry itself was 21 actually. So I would say that they were my favorite older group, even though I only saw the I Am the Best video, and that was kind of like my frame of reference for all of K-pop. It was the only video that I kept replaying and the only song that I knew. And then that was like in 2013, 2014. I stopped interacting with K-pop because it wasn't for me at the time. I was more into German metal and like Taylor Swift, so it was a lot of, weird eclectic tastes. And then by 2018 I got into BTS, and thanks to BTS it kind of just made me appreciate K-pop even more. But I feel like 21 is that older group for sure. Are you an outliner or discovery writer? Do you make book guides for your world building? So at this point in time, I am an outliner. I do plot everything beforehand. When you're writing under contract, there's really just, I mean, you can't choose to not outline, but I choose to because it's faster that way. It's for the world building. I just figure it out as I go because I sometimes will outline just the events themselves and then like very general rules of magic if it's a fantasy. But for the most part, I discover the magic as I go along because it gets a little bit more complex as I develop the world. So sometimes you just have to be there to make the magic come to life. Can you teach me how to write good? No, Katie, I can't. This is a question from Katie Zhao, author of The Dragon Warrior and the Fallen Hero, and the upcoming How We Fall Apart and Last Gamer Standing. Pre-order those. But her serious question is, what's your favorite and least favorite part of the writing process? My least favorite part of the writing process is having to work when I don't feel like it. I'm not the type of person who enjoys working too hard when I feel like I can't do much. But if I'm on deadline or if I feel like I have to get a specific thing down, then I will get it down. Not happily, but I'll do it. And my favorite part is actually just revising. I love having a finished product that I can go back to and pick it apart and start over if I have to start over. If I don't have to start over and I just, have to fix a couple of things here and there, that's still a happy making moment or a happy moment for me. All right, here we go. Do you teach full-time? How do you balance a day job and writing? I don't teach full-time. I am a college professor, or what is known as an adjunct professor, which means I don't have a lot to teach, but I have a lot of admin stuff to do while also caring for students who are freaking out because they can't submit assignments on time or such, or they don't understand an assignment and I have to like stop whatever it is I'm doing to help them believe in themselves again. So I don't work full-time, but my specific employer kind of does demand that we're available 24/7, which is complicated. And the other part was, how do you balance a day job and writing? So when I taught outside of my home, when I worked on campus, it was easier because I would limit my time, or not limit, but I would determine that this was the time that I was going to be out of my home and working out of my home, and then when I got back home I would de-stress, I would decompress somehow, and then I would immediately spend my afternoons and evenings writing. And sometimes when I have like a very exhausting and demanding work day teaching, then I wouldn't write that day. So I would write on days off, and I would write when I only had like one class or two classes, but they weren't super grueling, super demanding, and then I would write in the afternoons and evenings. However, now with the pandemic, I sort of do something similar, but for the most part, if I know that I'm teaching, it actually exhausts me more to teach in person than virtually. I like doing virtual events. I like doing virtual everything actually, because it feels more comfortable to me. I do get stressed because of internet connection, my friend the rooster, or any other interruptions. But in terms of dividing my day, I teach in the mornings or during the day. And then so what I do is if I'm teaching in the afternoon, I will write in the morning, and then sometimes I will also write in the evening. But it's not always that case. I mean, if right now I'm not on deadline, I'm waiting for some projects to come back to me right now, so I'm kind of just like checking to see which day of the which time period of the day I can actually work. But it's usually on a case by case basis. What's your number one piece of advice for new writers? Read as much as you can, which is something that a lot of authors already recommend and suggest, but I also think that you need to read things that make you uncomfortable in the sense that they're not your usual genre or you've never really read them before, because you can learn things from things that you don't like. You don't only learn things from things that you like and enjoy. So just push yourself as a reader first, and that will shape you as a writer later or during the process of reading. Why are you the way that you are? This one's coming from my nemesis Adri at Perpetual Pages. I am the way that I am because life just deemed it so. I don't make the rules, sorry. Can we be friends and fangirl together? Of course, we can always be friends and fangirl together. Do you have a title in mind for Blaze Wrath 2? Which I will be pre-ordering so freaking hard. Thank you for that. Blaze Wrath Games 2 does have a title. Right now, if you go to Goodreads, which I don't recommend anyway, but if you go to Goodreads, you will see a title there, and that is not the official title. So the official title will be revealed in the coming weeks, along with a cover. I have seen the cover sketch, or I have seen cover sketches. I've seen two cover sketches, and we went with one of them. The direction that one of the sketches provided was the one that I loved the most. So right now I'm just waiting for the cover to be finalized. The title is already set, so I'm excited to finally share those two things with you and talk more about this book. I am so desperate to talk more about this book. Can you tell us any sneaky peeks about Blaze Wrath Games 2? So for this sequel, it was interesting to write because Blaze Wrath Games to me felt more like a fun, adventurous book. The process of drafting it was hard, and I sometimes felt like giving up. And I wrote it even though two hurricanes threatened my life and my country's safety and the lives of others. It was psychologically it was a lot to deal with, writing while suffering and doing all of these things. So writing the sequel was exhausting and it was so emotionally draining. I did meet my deadline for that first draft, but at the same time it was very different in tone because Blaze Wrath Games, when we end that book, if you've read it, you know what I'm talking about. If you haven't read it, you won't know what I'm talking about, but that ending was not super cheerful. So the next part of the story was a continuation, a direct continuation of that, and it proved very draining because I was exploring trauma, and I will say that the second book, that's the sneaky peek I can give you right now. It is an exploration of trauma, and it just drained me to write, but I feel so accomplished. It is the most proud I've felt finishing a book because it was something that hurt to think about and hurt to feel through the eyes of Lana specifically. So can give you a sneaky peek that we have more dragons or more dragon species. Some of them appear in Blaze Wrath Games and others are brand new that we haven't introduced in the first book. Not brand new to the world, but brand new to the readers. So I'm excited to share those with you as well, and I will give you another sneaky peek. There is a dragon in the first book that appears in the second book, and we finally know their name. Fave tropes to write. Fave seen in Blaze Wrath Games, fave writing snack. So my favorite tropes to write are the found family trope, which is evident in the first one with Lana meeting the team from her country, and finding herself or accepting herself as Puerto Rican thanks to their help or their presence in her life. I also like Enemies to Lovers, but I haven't gotten the chance to truly show you what that means from my brain or coming from my brain. I am working on, I think I've mentioned this in this channel, on this channel before, but I'm working on a book called Goth and Prince. That's not the real title, but it's my code name for it. And that does have Enemies to Lovers. Blaze Wrath Games 2 has some romance, so that's another sneaky peek. There's some romance. I will not disclose any more, but that it's similar to the Enemies to Lovers trope, but not exactly, because it's kind of, they're not, okay, I won't say anymore. Favorite scene in Blaze Wrath Games. My favorite scene in Blaze Wrath Games, I actually have to think about this because it changes. Like sometimes I'll say it's this one and sometimes I'll say it's that one. My favorite scene in Blaze Wrath Games is actually a huge spoiler. So if you've read the book, I can hint at what it is, and if you haven't read the book, you will not know what I'm talking about. But my favorite scene in Blaze Wrath Games happens towards the end at a very tense moment in the story where a character evolves. And that's all I'm gonna say. So, yeah. And my favorite writing snack, I don't actually eat anymore while I draft or revise, but ice cream is always a good thing to eat for me. But my favorite snack in general, or my favorite candy in general, is Twizzlers. Or who would win in a fight, Lana versus your neighbor's rooster? I think the rooster would win. I'm sorry, Lana. I know that you're a great athlete, but I don't think you can handle the rooster. See, the rooster is even commenting. He's like, she's got nothing on me. But no, you're not gonna win. Yeah, absolutely, the rooster. I mean, yeah, I don't see Lana winning that one. I'm sorry. Maybe Lana can outrun him, but the rooster would still be like loud and angry about it. See? How many pages does Blaze Wrath Games 2 have? Asking for a friend. It's me. I'm friend. I think the exact number I'm blanking on right now. I think it's like 320 pages, maybe a little bit less than that, but it is a shorter book than Blaze Wrath Games actually. Blaze Wrath Games is like 368 pages, but the second book or the second installment is shorter. And it's shorter because it's tighter in events, like the events are like everything is quicker, everything is happening faster. It's a more tense-filled book for me personally, so it was a shorter experience to write it. I wrote it in 2 months and revised it by myself for a month, and then I revised with my editors an extra 2 months. So yeah, it's definitely a shorter book, a tighter book, a more tense-filled book, and I just can't wait to tell you more about it. How do you choose mentions of pop culture in your writing? I feel like this is mostly anchored in the characters, because if I mention a certain pop culture reference, but the character throughout the story doesn't really interact with that pop culture reference or isn't clearly a fan of that reference, then why would they mention it? Which actually happened to me during Blaze Wrath Games, because there were many mentions in earlier drafts of Lord of the Rings. From Lana's perspective, she would mention Lord of the Rings, and a friend of mine who was a beta reader for it said, but I don't get the sense that Lana is a geek. I don't get the sense that Lana loves Lord of the Rings or even like has seen the movies or read the books. So I definitely took that out. She does have a Wonder Woman backpack, so that's mostly what she references, but mostly also, or not mostly also, but also she references Monsta X, which is her favorite K-pop group, and I can relate to that. So she, as a fan of that specific group, she will mention them because she's interacting with their content. So I guess the reference has to be tied to character and their personality, their interests. If you mention them just to mention them, then it kind of falls flat or it doesn't make sense. So if you're writing, for example, if you're a writer, just think about that. What makes sense for your characters to allude to? It doesn't have to be your main character, it can be someone else mentioning this reference or making an allusion to something that is widely known in our real world. So just think about the logical aspect of it. Does it make sense? Is it relevant? Does it fit the scene? Does it take the tension out of the scene? Does it add tension? What is it doing? Is it for comic relief? What are you doing with this? So that's how I think about my references. The final question. What's a genre you haven't yet written in but would love to try? I have not written a full thriller yet. I mean, I have written contemporary fantasy, I've written high fantasy. These are all unpublished works. The high fantasy is unpublished. Contemporary fantasy, Blazewrath Games, and the sequel both are contemporary fantasy. I am writing horror because, you know, I am editing an anthology that is based on Latinx horror tales or horror-ish folk tales. So that counts as horror. And the manuscript, Goth and Prince, the manuscript that I'm currently working on polishing, and by the way, I have plans to do like an entire episode just about this specific project because I want to show you my steps into creating a proposal for an editor for an option book. And I'll get into that during that specific episode, and I'm just really excited to like provide more details about Goth and Prince anyway. So I think a thriller, a full-blown thriller would be nice. I love watching thrillers as films. My favorite movie of all time is Seven. To me, that is not a horror movie, that is a thriller. So I would like to try that. I'm definitely interested in writing thrillers. So, yay! And those were the questions for the Q&A. I loved answering these because I feel like it just allows me to talk about myself, but not like self-guided. I want to thank everyone who submitted questions. I hope I answered them to your satisfaction. I wish I could give more spoilers for Blazewrath Games 2. I wish I could tell you more about my writing process for it. And I wish I had a cover to reveal, but not yet. Soon, soon, soon. This has been a lot of fun. I hope that you are having a great day or evening, whenever it is that you're watching this. Thank you so much for watching this episode. And yeah, I'll catch you next time. So stay awesome, everyone. Bye!